my experience is universally negative. Universally negative. I've never had a positive encounter with Mossad. I have never met a CIA officer who has had a positive encounter with Mossad. Because the Mossad doesn't give two shits what you think or what you are trying to focus on in your job. They care only about Israel. And if that means shoving their fists up your ass or trying to recruit you or telling you to go fuck yourself while they try to recruit, the guy sitting next to you or the guy in the defense contractor's office, they don't care what you think of them. Because for them, it's an issue of survival. They have nowhere to go if they don't survive. The thing is, they have a real problem balancing intelligence collection with political influence. Over the last couple of weeks, for example, a myriad of Western countries have begun recognizing Palestine diplomatically. The British, the French, the Irish, the Spanish, the Canadians, the Australians. Next week, it's going to be the New Zealanders. If you look at a map now, the United States is the only Western country that doesn't recognize Palestine. That says a lot. But we've allowed the Israelis to put us in a corner where we're either with them or we're against them, and there's nothing in between. And that's just simply not true. We should have as our goals U.S. national interests. Period. I don't give a shit what Israel's national goals are. My job as a CIA officer was to protect the United States and American interests and American citizens. If the Israelis need to protect their people, God bless, that's on the Israelis. But never, ever should we place ourselves second to any other country, ever, under any circumstances. There's a famous saying that there's no such thing as permanent friendships, only permanent interests. And we live that with every country in the world except Israel. We always put Israel's interests first. How is it in our interest to allow a genocide in Gaza, for example? It's not. If we're this shining beacon of hope for human rights and civil liberties, then let's be the shining beacon. Let's not pretend that there's not a genocide taking place in Gaza. There is. And this isn't John's definition of genocide. This is the United Nations. So I appreciate that the Israelis have a job to do, and they believe that it's a nearly impossible job. But that's not my problem. And it shouldn't be the problem of the CIA or the United States government writ large.
So let's go there then. I mean, why do you think that Netanyahu has asked every president to bomb Iran?
Yeah.
And none of them have done it besides Trump. Why do you think that is?
The Israelis always want us to do their dirty work for them, calculating that if we do it, there probably will not be retaliation. And if there is retaliation, of course, it'll be against us. And we're more equipped to absorb Iranian retaliation than the Israelis are. But president after president after president has said, no, we're not going to bomb Iran for you. Until Donald Trump said, yes, we will bomb Iran for you. So again, here's a president who wants desperately to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And my God, is doing really well, right? Peace between friggin' Cambodia and Thailand, between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, between Pakistan and India. I'm flabbergasted at the success that Donald Trump has had in these hotspots around the world. But on Gaza, which is arguably the most horrific thing happening in the world right now, he just concedes to the Israelis. So if you're Donald Trump and you strong-arm the Iranians into going back to the negotiating table on the nuclear program after they swore they would never do it, but they did it because you demanded it, but then you bomb them, with the biggest bomb that humankind has ever seen, then what's the incentive for them to do what you want a second time? Why would they trust you? They shouldn't. I wouldn't trust you. And that Nobel Peace Prize, forget it, because we're gonna head into a longer term war now. Trita Parsi published a piece. We're in early August. He just published a piece on the 10th of August, predicting that there would be an Israeli-Iranian war by the end of August. Trita Parsi is one of the greatest Iran scholars on the planet. And he lays this out. It's in Foreign Affairs magazine. He lays it out in very logical fashion. And so if the United States can't be an honest broker and can't get the two sides apart while the diplomats do the job that they're trained to do, then why would they listen to us on any issue? It doesn't make sense.
So that's something that I think about. I agree with you. I don't want America to be the world police.
No,
I don't.
Nor do I.
I don't really care if there's something perceived to be wrong with saying I care about America over any other country's interests. Mm-hmm. Where I do wonder and have, I guess, wishful thinking is it's easy for people to, people that don't have access to classified information to sit there and Monday morning quarterback it and say, oh my God, you guys constantly armed the Mujahideen when the Soviets were in Afghanistan. Look what you did. Mm-hmm. But there's obviously more moving pieces and backdoors, and there's intelligence that the average American who reads a newspaper isn't privy to. Mm-hmm. So I would like to think that, for example, Donald Trump being a certain way to the Israelis is for a reason. But what reason?
The reason is AIPAC has him by the balls. I hate to say it.
Trump?
Yeah. And not just Trump, but pretty much every member of Congress. AIPAC is the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. It's the Israel lobby. Now, they somehow have convinced the government that they are just a group of Americans who really loves Israel, which of course is utter, complete, total horseshit. It should be registered as a foreign lobbying group, and it's not. But if you are an elected official in the United States and you are not 100% pro-Israel, they will primary you. And they have great success in defeating incumbents who express even the vaguest support for Palestinian human rights. I'll tell you another thing the Israelis are successful at is cultivating Jewish leaders here in the United States. Josh Shapiro, for example. I'm from Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro is the governor of Pennsylvania. He happens to be Jewish. Cool, no problem with that. But he also happens to be a veteran of the IDF, the Israel Defense Force. He went and did his time on an Israeli kibbutz when he was 18 years old. And he loved Israel so much that he joined the Israeli military. Okay, now you're the governor of Pennsylvania, and you're one of the front runners for the Democratic nomination for president. But where do your loyalties lie? You have served the Israeli government. I can't trust you to keep the United States first. In your mind, you haven't served the American government, but you serve the Israeli government. That bothers me immensely. There were a couple of Congress people who were members of the so-called squad who gave speeches on the floor of the House that, this wholesale massacre of Palestinian civilians and women and children, it's just wrong. They were immediately primaried. Cori Bush, for example, in St. Louis, they threw her out on her ass. Jamal Bowman in New York, out. Why? Because they said, maybe the Israelis shouldn't be massacring all these women and children. Oh, how dare you? You must be anti-Semitic. And they throw them out. This is a very dangerous development for a foreign organization or an organization that supports a foreign government to have this kind of stranglehold on our government. So, somebody's got to say something. Somebody's got to stand up to these people. And I think we're getting there. The rest of the world sees it, and they're all recognizing Palestine, if only to put diplomatic pressure on the Israelis. And we're just not there yet. And we're standing alone. We used to have this joke at the agency. Every time there was a vote in the United Nations General Assembly, the vote was like 194-4, right? And the 4 was always the U.S., Israel, Costa Rica, and Tuvalu, right? And then the whole world, the rest of the world, was on the other side. Why? Why do we isolate ourselves like that? Why do we have to protect the Israelis and pretend that they're not committing war crimes or crimes against humanity? What's in it for us? Remember, there are no permanent relations, just permanent interests, and it's not in our interest to isolate ourselves.